Hey, well, everyone, welcome to Youth Jam. We're so grateful to see all of you. And if you can turn on your cameras, it would make it so much more personal. And in the chat box, we've sent a bunch of links. So if you haven't already, you can explore those links to either follow our social medias or email us if you have any questions or concerns, as well as there's a link for resources. So everything that we cover in the Youth Jam session will also be in that link as well. So today's schedule is fairly short, but very sweet. So we will have announcements first, followed by a prayer. Then we'll go through our chapter a day of the Bhagavad Gita. So it's chapter 7, led by Chaitanya. And then we'll also go into reading Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, and then we'll have a sweet discussion as well as reflections towards the end. So with that being said, is there anyone that would like to start us off with a nomination for the prayer? And the format of the prayer is also put in the chat.
I nominate Madhuri Saki.
Okay. No one seconded it, but I guess I'll second my
I
own.
second it.
Okay. Thank you. My dear Shri Shri Radhalandanishvara, if you so desire, please allow us to have an enlivening and sweet discussion today and allow us to walk away with more realizations from our readings. Thank you for considering our request. That's it. Okay, now I'll hand it over to Chaitanya for our chat.
Hare Krishna. All right, so one of you can share the screen, or we have it pulled up.
All right, I don't have the slides, but I have the side-by-side version. So I can pull this up for now and then
Okay.
or I think you can get the slides. We can switch maybe.
Right. As usual, we'll recite. I'll recite the shlokas, and then everyone else can recite behind muted mics, and then we can go through the translations again. Shri Bhagavan Maya mana partha yogam yunjanmadashrayah asamshayam samagram mam yatha jnasyasi tachranu jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyamya sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyōnyach jñātavyam avashishyate manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatāmapi siddhānam kaschin mam veti tattvatah bhūmirapo nalo vāyu kam mano buddhireva cha ahankara iti yam me bhinna prakritirashthatha अपरेयमितस्त्वन्यां प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे परां जीवितभूता महाबाहो ययेदं धार्यते जगत् एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणीत्युपधारय अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः प्रभवप्रलयस्तथा मत्तः परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वम् इदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगणा इव रसोऽहम् अप्सु कौन्तेय प्रभास्मि शशिसूर्ययोः प्रणवः सर्ववेदेषु शब्दखे पौरुषं नृषु पुण्यो गन्धः पृथिव्यां च तेजश्चास्मि विभावसौ जीवनं सर्वभूतेषु तपश्चास्मि तपस्विषु बीजं मां सर्वभूतानां विधि पार्थ सनातनं बुद्धिर्बुद्धिमतामस्मि तेजस्तेजस्विनामहम् बलं बलवतां चाहं कामरागाविवर्जितं धर्माविरुद्धो भूतेषु कामोऽस्मि भरतर्षभ ये चैव सात्विका भावा राजसास्तामसाश्च ये मत्त एवेति तान् विधि न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्येभिः सर्वमिदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम् दैवी ह्येषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतं तरन्ति ते न मां दुष्कृतिनो मूढा प्रपद्यन्ते नराधमः माययापहृतज्ञान आसुरं भावमाश्रितः चतुर्विधा भजन्ते मां जनाः सुकृतनोऽर्जुन आर्तो जिज्ञासुरर्थार्थी ज्ञानी च भरतर्षभा तेषां ज्ञानी नित्ययुक्ता एकभक्तिर्विशिष्यते प्रियो हि ज्ञानयोऽर्थार्थम् अहं स च मम प्रियः उदारः सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी त्वात्मैव मे मतम् आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां गतिम् बहूनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवः सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः कामैस्तैस्तैर्हृतज्ञान प्रपद्यन्तेऽन्यदेवतः तं तं नियममास्थाय प्रकृत्या नियता स्वया I think I'm missing some slides or there's 10 more verses. Can we go back to the other one then? I think it cut off.
Yeah, what verse did we leave off?
2021.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do a little switch.
Yeah. Yo yo yam tanum bhakta श्रद्धयार्चितुमिच्छति तस्य तस्याचलां श्रद्धां तामेव विदधाम्यहम् सतया श्रद्धया युक्तस्तस्याराधनमीहते लभते च ततः कामान् मयैव विहितान् हितान् अन्तवत्तु फलं तेषां तद्भवत्यल्पमेधसां देवान् देवयजो यान्ति मद्भक्ता यान्ति मामपि अव्यक्तिं व्यक्तिमापन्नं मन्यन्ते माम बुद्धयः परं भावमजानन्तो ममाव्ययमनुत्तमम् नाहं प्रकाश सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति लोको माम् अजमव्ययम् वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्यानि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन ईर्ष्याद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति परन्तप येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जननं पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां दृढव्रतः जरामरणमोक्षाय मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तद्विदुः कृत्स्नम् अध्यात्मं च कर्म चाखिलम् साधिभूतादिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च हे विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासूपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे ज्ञानविज्ञानयोगो नाम सप्तमोऽध्यायः हरि ओम्. So if we can have, let's see, let's have 5 volunteers and we can each read 6 translations. So if anyone wants to get us started, please raise your hand. Parth, go ahead.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Pitta, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. I shall now declare unto you in this full knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. Thus being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these eight constitute my separated material energies. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another, superior energy of mine which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. All created beings have their source in these two natures, of all that is material and all that is spiritual. In this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and dissolution. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon pearls are strung on a thread. Vivaan, you can continue.
Wait, we're starting from 7.8, right?
Yeah.
Okay. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Parthas, Arjuna. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. Wait, how many am I reading?
Read 6.
Okay. So, should I read one more or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible.
Thank you, Vivaan. I would like to read. Samriddhi, go ahead.
This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are the lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. O best among the Parthas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for a knowledge of the absolute. Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him, and he is dear to me. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures.
Thank you, Samriddhi.
Thank you.
Parth, you want to go ahead? Parth Agarwal.
Yeah, sure. I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I made his faith steady, so that he can devote himself to that particular deed. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet.
You can read a couple more.
I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but no one knows me.
Thank you, Parth. Finish it off. O sign of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Those in full consciousness of me who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Right, so we'll be continuing looking at purports from the 7th chapter, written by His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. And last week, I think we left off at 5. So let me pull it up. So everyone can see that. So if we can, actually, this is a pretty short purport. We can probably do another 2. So if we can get a couple volunteers to read, one person can read this 6th verses purport and can look at the next one afterward. Anyone like, okay, Vivan, go ahead, read the translation and the purport for us.
All created beings have their source in these two natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. Purport. Everything that exists is a product of matter and spirit. Spirit is the basic field of creation, and matter is created by spirit. Spirit is not created at a certain stage of material development. Rather, this material world is manifested only on the basis of spiritual energy. This material body is developed because spirit is present within matter. A child grows gradually to boyhood and then to manhood because that superior energy, spirit soul, is present. Similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation of the gigantic universe is developed because of the presence of the super soul, Vishnu. Therefore, spirit and matter, which combine to manifest this gigantic universal form, are originally two energies of the Lord, and consequently, the Lord is the original cause of everything. A fragmental part and parcel of the Lord, namely the living entity, may be the cause of a big skyscraper, a big factory, or even a big city, but he cannot be the cause of a big universe. The cause of the big universe is the big soul or super soul, and Krishna, the Supreme, is the cause of both the big and small souls. Therefore, he is the original cause of all causes. This is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chetananam.
Thank you, everyone. All right, can look at the 7th verse. This is a long one. Okay, we can have a couple volunteers for this verse. Parth, go ahead, get us started with the translation.
Okay. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me, as pearls are strung on a thread. So, should I read the first paragraph? Okay. This is a common controversy over whether the supreme absolute truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the absolute truth is a person, that the personality of Godhead is the supreme absolute truth, is also the affirmative of the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. That is, the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna, who is the primeval Lord, the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities leave no doubt that the Absolute is the Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. The impersonalist, however, argues on the strength of the Vedic version given in the Svesta Vrisha Upanishad, Tato Yad Uttara Taram Tad Apra Anamya Ya Itad Vidur Amarast Te Bhavanti Atteri Dakham Ikavampi Panti. In the material world, Brahman, the primeval beings, the primeval living entities within the universe is understood to be the supreme amongst the demigods, human beings, and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is the Transcendence, who has no material form and is free from all material contamination. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world.
Thank you, Parth. Could we get another volunteer to read the next couple paragraphs or finish it off? Actually, it's pretty short.
Sure, okay. The impersonalist puts more stress on the word aparam. But this word aparam is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge, as described in the Brahma Samhita quoted above. Other verses in the Svastara Upanishad substantine this as follows. Can somebody read the Sanskrit?
Vedahametam purusham mahantam adityavarnam tamasah parastat tameva viditvati mrityumeti nanya panthan vidyate yanaya. Yasmat param na paramasti kinchid, yasmannaniyo no jyosti kinchid. Vriksha iva stabdho divi tishthatyekas, tenedam purnam purushena sarvam.
I know that Supreme Personality of Godhead. I know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material conceptions of darkness, only He knows Him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There's no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. There's no truth superior to that Supreme Person, because He is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest, and He is greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree, and He illuminates the transcendental sky. And as a tree spreads its roots, He spreads His extensive energies. From these verses, one concludes that the Supreme Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all pervading by His multi energies, both material and spiritual.
Very well. Thank you again, Parth. That was a pretty dense and powerful verse, actually. And so there's a lot to get from these two verses itself that we looked through. Do you have any reflections, Parth, you want to share, or do you have anything?
So in this verse, they were basically trying to figure out if Krishna was material or spiritual. But because Krishna is Krishna, he is everywhere. So right now he's spiritual and material. So that's basically what the ending was. But just to sum it up a bit. And then Srila Prabhupada gave a lot of examples, like it says here, he is situated as a silent tree. He illuminates the sky, and as a tree spreads its roots, he spreads existence of energy. So, like that.
Yeah, that's a good summary, actually. Thank you for that. Anyone have any other reflections or things they liked about the verses, either of these purports? I'll say, I think the last verse, 7.6, this reminded me of what I saw in a lecture given this morning at ISB by our friend Brajaras Bhavana Prabhu. He was talking about how matter and spirit is, or like the scientific method and scientific perspective nowadays is how matter is considered to be the basis of life. And Brajaras was explaining about how, our Vedic perspective kind of not nullifies, but doesn't entirely agree with that perspective, right? So this the idea that basically spirit and matter entirely are attributed once again to Krishna kind of just wraps it up all in a big bow and proves that we have or proves that God is real. So it's just a really interesting point that I got from 7.6. Go for it. All right, so we don't have anything else. I think we can move on to the next part of our program. I'll hand it off to Parth.
Very well, everyone. So we have a game up next that we can play. How this is going to work is we have Gaur Purnima coming up. So we've created a word search that is themed around Chaitanya Charitamrita. And if you can annotate with your computer, you can join. If you can't, I can annotate on your behalf. Yeah, just like that. And the words that we have to find are at the bottom. And then let's see if we can find all of them in 5 minutes. So, okay, well, we've got some fast learners. Some of the words will also be backwards, so it's gonna be a little bit harder to find.
Can we unmute?
Yeah, you can. you guys want to discuss?
Okay. I haven't found any, but um,
Oh, that does. Just really.
backwards are tricky.
Yeah. Okay, let's try to find out the other ones quickly because we don't have much time left.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Oh, I don't. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know she just left for like 2 seconds.
Fuzzy.
It's good that we're using different colors.
Can we find the last one? Oh, yes, find the last one. Okay. All right. Awesome job, everyone.
Wait.
Are there any names here that you don't know? We can talk about them really quickly. If anyone has a question about any of these names or words, we can.
One is Antya, Antya.
So Antya refers to one of the three sections of the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Antya Leela.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wait, what about Ghazi?
That's
Kazi.
referring to the Chant Kazi. He was
Oh,
the king who was against Harinam, and then
okay. I
Mahaprabhu.
didn't know Ghazi was John Ghazi. Okay.
Awesome. So what we can do next is we can move to Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, and we'll do.
Are we still on chapter 6 or
Yes, we are in the middle of chapter 6 right now.
like is it like aside from his difficulties? Is that where we start?
During 1950 to 51, up there.
1950.
You can follow along on the screen here. Okay, so I'll start, and then we can read 3 paragraphs each. During 1950 to 51, he continued his letter writing, attempting to gain a hearing with various organizations and leaders. He wrote the World Pacifist Committee, the President of India, and the Minister of Education. He wrote to the Indian Congress for Cultural Freedom, which wrote back suggesting that Abhay had written them by mistake. He wrote to an official of the All Religions Conference in Bombay, advising that because of their approach, nothing practical would come out of their conference. The practical solution is lying in the transcendental message of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, as given by him in the Bhagavad Gita. On September 14th, 1951, he corresponded with Daniel Bailey of the American Reporter, a magazine published by the American Embassy in New Delhi. Abhay pointed out that the philosophy of understanding the absolute truth as realized by the sages of India, was higher than attempts to combine East and West. Mr. Bailey replied that he was aware of Eastern philosophical and religious influence in the West, and cited the progress of a yoga mission in the New York City, which he had said had some influence on the Protestants in America. But when Abhay asked if one of his articles could appear in the American Reporter, Mr. Bailey replied, "If we were to give considerable space in our American Reporter to say the Gita, we in all fairness would have to give equal space to the other philosophies, and our desire is not to endorse or condemn any of them, but simply to assist in a better understanding in a further reply." Abhay differed with Mr. Bailey's contention that people should be encouraged to make their own interpretation of religion. Less intelligent men are always guided by those who are superior in knowledge and spheres of life. Abhay even wrote to the Ford Foundation in Detroit, and a staff assistant wrote back, "Regret to advise you that we are unable to pursue your suggestions concerning the establishment of an association of the intelligent class of people. The Ford Foundation has no program in which specific ideas such as you might describe might be included." Although most of his suggestions were rejected, occasionally he received words of appreciation. A certain Dr. Muhammad Saeed, PhD, a professor at the University of Allahabad, wrote, "You seem to have assimilated the universal teaching of India, which is really laudable." And the governor of Uttar Pradesh replied, "You are doing noble work, for nothing is nobler than to be God-minded." Sorry, you can continue.
Not only was Abhay giving advice in his letters, but he was also hinting that he could give practical help. If he could obtain institutional backing, he is prepared to do many things: teach classes, manage temples, teach temple worship, and initiate devotees, as well as organize various kinds of field work to propagate the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Usually, he did not spell out exactly how things should be done, but he pointed to the philosophical defects in the present methods and the superiority of working in accord with the Vedic literature. By the grace of his spiritual master, he knew the science of applying Bhagavad Gita to almost any situation. If someone would only show interest, he could teach that person the superiority of working, according to the Bhagavad Gita. After attending a meeting in which the prominent industrialist had stressed harmonious relationships between labor and management in his factory, Abhay wrote a long letter suggesting the man consider the good effects of the congregational chanting of Hare Krishna could produce. Since the factory had special employees, club, and lounge, Abhay suggested that the workers assemble there and chant Hare Krishna. Abhay suggested. Wait, do I continue?
Yeah, you can start from in Allahabad. I think we were a little bit behind in what we've already finished. So you
Okay.
can start from up here. We were repeating a little bit from last time.
In Allahabad, Abhay managed to save enough money after enough money to revive the printing of Back to Godhead. Allahabad. I'm just getting it on my.
Okay.
Somebody can read that time.
Vilan, are you there or should I continue?
Yeah, I'm there. I can
Okay,
read.
awesome. You can read from in Allahabad.
So, okay, yeah. In Allahabad, Abhay managed to save enough money to revive the printing of Back to Godhead, and in February 1952, from his editorial office and home at 57B Canning Road, the first issue in 8 years appeared. As before, he did everything himself, all the writing, typing, editing, meeting with the printer, and finally distributing the copies by hand as well as mailing them to respectable leaders throughout India. This, he felt, was the real purpose of living in Allahabad or anywhere. This was the best use of money, the purpose of human life, to engage fully in glorifying the Supreme Lord. Other things were temporary and would soon be lost. When he visited his family in Calcutta, old friends would gather in his room, and he would preach and give classes on the Bhagavad Gita. Abe invited his wife and family to take part in these discussions, but they would resolutely sit in an upstairs room, often taking tea, as if in defiance of his preaching. Abe was supporting them. He was still associating with them, but he was bent on preaching, and they were not making it attractive for him to do so within the family. If there were to be family life for Abe, then his wife and sons would have to recognize and rejoice in the fact that he was becoming a full-fledged preacher. They would have to understand that his life's concern was to serve his spiritual master's mission. They could not simply ignore his transformation. They could not insist that he was simply an ordinary man. Abhay continued to try to draw his wife in, hoping she would gradually follow him in the preacher's life, but she had not the slightest interest in her husband's preaching. And why should he spend his days worrying about the family, chemicals, and money? Let his relatives let his relatives criticize, but back to Godhead was the real service he could offer to the whole family of mankind. Madhavendra Puri, a great spiritual preceptor and predecessor of Lord Chaitanya, had written about the devotees' indifference to worldly criticism. Wait, how many was I supposed to read?
Oh, demigods and forefathers,
Oh.
please excuse me. I am unable to perform any more offerings for your pleasure. And now I have decided to free myself from all reactions to sins, simply by remembering anywhere and everywhere the greatest descent of Yadu and the great enemy of Kamsa, Lord Krishna. I think that this is sufficient for me. So, what is the use of further endeavors? Let the sharp moralists accuse me of being illusioned. I do not mind. Experts in Vedic activities may slander me as being led. Slander. Friends and relatives may call me frustrated. My brothers may call me a fool. The wealthy Mammonites may point me out as mad, and the learned philosophers may assert that I am too proud. Still, my mind does not budge an inch from the determination to serve the lotus feet of Govinda, though I be unable to do it. Why should he waste time with petty family problems when he held answers to the problems of India and the world? As a knower of Bhagavad Gita, he felt that his first obligation was to offer solutions to the complex crisis of war, hunger, immortality, crime, all symptoms of godlessness. And if dedicating himself to such work meant that other lesser responsibilities suffered, then there's no loss.
Thank you so much. Would anyone? Oh, okay. I see Yvonne. Go ahead.
If anyone else wants to read, they can.
Same for me. If anybody else wants to read, they can.
I don't believe we have any volunteers, so you can continue.
Okay. In March 1952, Abhay published another issue of Back to Godhead. It was dedicated mostly to a biographical article that Abhay had written about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, vehemently protested against the principles of those pseudo-transcendentalists, now passed in the name of Lord Chaitanya. He initiated the reformatory movement by literary contributions while he still engaged as a high government officer. During his householder life and serving as a magistrate, he wrote books of various descriptions in Bengali, in English, Sanskrit, and etc. to present an actual picture of devotional activities to Lord Chaitanya. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj got inspiration from his very childhood about Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda's movement. He worked as the private secretary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and such Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave him Srila Saraswati Thakur the transcendental power of attorney to espouse the cause of Lord Chaitanya. And so, after Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's departure, Srila Saraswati Thakur took up the reins of that reformatory movement.
You can read another one.
Absorbed in producing his monthly journal, Abhay went about his other activities only superficially. Sometimes he traveled on business or taking the night train from Allahabad to Calcutta, visited his family. When his compartment was not crowded, he would turn on a light while others slept. Riding a night train provided good opportunity to think or even write. Sometimes he would sleep for a few hours and then sit up again and look out the window to see only night and the reflected lights of the train compartment shining back in at him, the windows reflecting his face.
Okay. Halfway through the 12-hour journey, the sky would lighten, turning from gray to light blue, and the first white clouds would appear in the sky. He would see lights in the town and hear train horn warnings. When the train slowed and stopped rotation at a station, tea vendors would walk alongside the train yelling chai, chai, chai. Their loud sing-song ding filled the ears with chai, and chai filling the air with its aroma. Hundreds of passengers sipped their morning tea. During his more than 24 hours of excessive train travel, Abe had noticed more and more people smoking cigarettes and more women traveling alone. India was becoming westernized, and the national leaders were paving the way. The blind leading the blind. They wanted the kingdom of God without God. They wanted a progressive, industrialized India without Krishna. From the windows, he could see large fields being left uncultivated, and yet people were hungry. Abe would sometimes read a newspaper and could cut out an article that seemed to warrant a reply in Back to Godhead, or that sparked an idea for an essay. He would deliberate over how to approach people for assistance, whom to approach, and how to start a society of Krishna conscious devotees. People not only in India but all over the world could take to Krishna consciousness. The Chaitanya Bhagavat had practiced the name of Lord Chaitanya would one day be known in every town and village. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had wanted that. He had sent preachers to England, but they had only granted a protocol visit with the royalty, stood in line, bowed before the crown, and then came back to India without affecting any change in the Western people. Abid thought about sending back to Godhead abroad. His agents Tacker, Spink, and Company had contracts in America and Europe. People read English all over the world. Some of them would surely appreciate the ideas from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That was what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had wanted. Krishna consciousness from not India alone. It was India's greatest and is for everybody. Haribol.
Very well. Thank you for reading. It's amazing how Srila Prabhupada used the material world to help spark discussions that he would use in Back to Godhead. Like earlier I saw, it said that he would cut out newspapers. Oh yeah, up here. He would cut out newspapers and then use it in Back to Godhead to warrant a reply. So he would get other newspapers to respond back to him. And then that's how he would get publicity, but also while spreading the movement, which I thought was an amazing idea.
What I really liked from here was that it just shows how Srila Prabhupada had so many hardships through his life and how he made the best of his bad bargain.
Yeah, totally true.
Then he only came to America with only 40 rupees. Am I correct? 40 rupees, and that 40 was from selling a Bhagavad Gita to the captain of the ship.
Yeah. I think at that time it was equivalent to around $3, but even then he had essentially no money, and then he didn't know where to go, but somehow with Krishna's mercy. Would anyone have any reflections from their week or their life in general? Yes, go ahead.
So one thing like is that like every day I just see like everybody's like, oh, look at this new TikTok thing. So I just see that people are trying to make it like a perfect life, an ideal life, like to present to people. But inside they have so many hardships they have to go through, and that's basically the same as Prabhupada. But Prabhupada also did not show his hardships, but he was able to persevere, and with determination and faith, he was able to get through them.
I think everyone named Parth is just smart in general. Anyways,
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
anyone else have any reflections? Chaitanya.
I really like that part, the point that Parth made, which was uh, how people are struggling inwardly, but they don't really show that all the time. It's becoming more common now, but also people still have some sort of endeavor that they're, working toward, and that isn't necessarily visible outwardly. And yeah, what Srila Prabhupada had an advantage of was he had the clear vision and knowledge that he had exposure to through his years of study and from his spiritual master, the instructions he got. He was also at one point, kind of confused as to what to do because